Hi world, and welcome to Trunkie and Branchie's YouTube channel, the YouTube channel where we share some life lessons, and we hope that you can, with great success, apply it to your own life and improve. Now, this is a channel about life and about experience, misadventures and adventures, and mistakes are part of life. And if you notice in our first video, this being the second video, there was something off with the noise. I mean, not my fake American accent, but something else. We noticed that there was like a white noise, if you should put, whenever I was very, very enthusiastic. Difficult English word, by the way. So I spoke to a friend of mine, and he said I should press a button that's called compression. I have no clue what a compression does, but I pressed the button, and I hope that it really improves the sound quality for you guys. Otherwise, just go to your device and pull down the volume. I'm sorry. Well, anyway, warm welcome back, and I hope that you will learn something to do. Now that was interesting. It should be today. Well, anyway, English is not my first language. I'm sorry about it. Anyway, let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about expenditures. Last time we talked about taxes. Taxes is no fun, and expenditure is still not fun, but we're going to get to the fun part. Maybe not in this video, but we're getting there. Now, if you look at the screen right now, hopefully, if I press the button here, you should be able to see a screen of an Excel, and you might recognize the Excel from the first video, but you will notice that some of the numbers have changed. I realized that the numbers were not really that realistic, but this is basically your home economics class from high school. Not all of us passed, and most of us don't remember it, so let's just run this through and get over with it. Categories and money. And then money in other languages. That's a way of calling currencies. Money in other languages. My wife's gonna tease me for that one. Anyway, so let's start. Rent in Stockholm. 9,500 kronor is a pretty good rent in the capital of Sweden. That's 50,000 pesos. You can get better if you want to live in areas that are not that desirable, but actually getting below 60,000 pesos in Stockholm, it's hard. So we were very lucky to find that one. All these numbers are of course inspired by our life, but not exactly our life. Food for 2 persons, 4,500 is acceptable. You can pull it down to 3,000, so 23,000 pesos it says here on Foxtrot 5. Communications, that is talking to your Lola in Batangas or wherever you're from. Antipolo, Palawan, wherever. That is internet, that is cell phone, anything that allows us to communicate with each other. That is a quite normal sum for 2 persons. Then we have travel, and with travel here we actually mean local travel or commuting. Commuting, that's a good English word, commuting. Let's stick with that. For 2 persons, 900 kronor. Some areas of Sweden it's more expensive and you get less services than you do in Stockholm. Stockholm is heavily subsidized by the government. The ticket prices for what the services are would actually be above 10,000 Swedish kronor if the state did not subsidize it, but we're only paying 950, I believe, at the time of making this video for 1 month per person, which is very nice considering what we get for the money. Restaurants. I differ between restaurants and food because in some work you cannot bring baon really, and therefore you might end up eating more at restaurants than you would like. And in this case we are considering that someone is working full-time, which is 40 hours per week here in Sweden. That's full-time employment, and has to eat in the restaurant every single time. So that's 5 times 120 kronor times 4 weeks, and then you end up with this sum of 12,000 pesos, almost 13,000 pesos in just eating during your workday. Of course you can cut this down. This is nowhere near my own numbers. Clothes, 2 persons. In the Swedish tradition, we always give more money to clothes for the female than we do the male. So the male gets about 400 to 500 kronor, and then the female gets the rest. This works pretty well for us because none of us are buying lots of clothes. So this is budgeted money that will just disappear somewhere. Our actual amount is much less than that. Car is expensive wherever you are in the world, and as soon as you buy a car, it loses value. Unless you are my father-in-law. I don't know what he does, but he always sells his cars for higher than he bought it. It's just magic. I don't understand it. But for us normal people like myself, car always loses money as soon as you put the keys in the ignition. And also, fuel costs here is about 1,500 Swedish kronor per month. That's half the amount that you see here on Bravo 10. 15,000 pesos, half is 7,000 pesos, 7,500 pesos for fuel per month. But a car needs maintenance, and repairing a car in Sweden is very, very expensive. I mean, just them having locate the fault of the car costs a fortune, and then fixing it, that's like bankruptcy. So you should always, when you have a car, you should always put as much as you run the cost of fuel, you should put in savings for when the car breaks down. So around 3,000 kronor, that's what a car costs in normal usage. Okay, can be more, can be less, of course. I mean, it depends on your lifestyle. So anyway, car 3,000 kronor. Insurances in Sweden is very, very good. I've experienced with Filipino nationals that come to Sweden that when they encounter trouble here, they're having a huge difficulties getting claims from their insurance companies. Actually, I have not met a single Filipino here in Sweden who's been successfully made a claim to an insurance company in the Philippines when they're coming here to Sweden. So my suggestion for you is, as soon as you're allowed to, get a Swedish insurance. And the Swedish insurance can actually in some cases also cover you in the Philippines. So make sure that you talk to your insurance agent here in Sweden what is included and if they can add something if you want to. So check that out. Here also we're including car insurance, and make sure that you have insurances. Okay, if an accident happens in Sweden, you will run out of money before you even start treating the cause or the trouble or the effects. Okay, your money will just go poof. So it's better to pay an insurance than to actually sit there and be ruined. So insurances in Sweden are quite reliable. There are issues, of course, but they are quite reliable. So do that. Health, that's like medicine, vitamin, gym, something like that per month. The doctor's appointments and the medicines are heavily subsidized as well. There is actually a cap, and the cap is at the moment at 1,500 for medicine and 1,500 or maybe 1,600 for doctors. And once you hit that cap, you stop paying. Then you can go to the hospital for free. And then if you're getting medicine that the doctor has prescribed to you, then you get it for free. If you're buying coughing medicine over the counter, no, it's not for free. But if you have a prescription and you hit the roof, then it will be for free. And the free card, as we call it, frikortet, it is valid for a year. So that is very good. That is very good. Then vices. Anything that's detrimental to your health or relationships that you put into vices. So you have alcohol, you have tobacco, you have Swedish snuff, snus. The tobacco you put up in your mouth, and then it looks like you have a second lip. Yep, makes you spit and everything. Lovely Viking tradition. Anything that's detrimental for your health and relationship, you put in here. And hopefully, if you're viewing this channel, this will be 0. In my own case, I love chocolate, so I'm gonna have chocolate purchases, and chocolate is detrimental to my health. So, sorry, I love chocolate. Hobbies. You need to have a hobby. If you don't have a hobby, you'll break. So put some money on your own mental well-being. Sum. And then debts, of course. Debts in Sweden, very easy to get. Okay, it is very, very, very easy to get a debt, and the consequences of debts in Sweden are very, very severe. some of our harshest criminal offenses are economical. So I'm gonna make a separate video about the effects of not paying your debts in Sweden, but I'm telling you right now, make sure that you pay your debts. Okay? You pay your rent first and then you pay your debts. Don't be late with debt payment in Sweden. Just don't. Just don't. Please don't. And one of the problems here in Sweden is that it's very, very easy to take a loan. We have these loans that you take from your cell phone. Stay away from them. They are a killer. The interest rate will kill you. Almost literally, it will kill you. And also most companies have agreement with banks that they send out invoice, you call it in English, and if that invoice is not paid on time, it automatically transfers into a debt with high interest rate. So here you see that I have put up an example where we have a bank loan and we have a debt payment, and just to make it serious we put up the highest interest rate of the debts that we have. So it's a little bit skewed, this calculation, but it's supposed to be skewed so that you get the seriousness of it. One thing that you also need to keep track of, if you look at Bravo 21, you'll see that I wrote that in this particular scenario we have two bank loans, and the reason why this is interesting is because all invoices have an administrative fee, and the administrative fee can be anywhere from 30 Swedish kronor up to 150 kronor I've seen. So it can really differ a lot. So be careful of that. So bank loans, in the bank loans I also include a student loan. The student loan in Sweden is very, very beneficial. So that one you shouldn't be too concerned of if you have one, but other bank loans you should be really worried about. Purchases loan, that was what I talked about earlier, that you can buy stuff but not paying immediately and you get an invoice instead. Dangerous stuff and usually high interest rates. So be very careful, because Sweden is very, very internet based, and it's very, very easy to just click away your money. It will just disappear and suddenly you'll be sitting with a lot of interest rate. I mean, think credit cards on steroids. I mean, credit cards, come on, they're like a puppy biting you. But buying online with this economical setup, that's a real killer. So be very mindful when you get to Sweden about that. Then private loans, of course. I put interest rate 10% because, come on, a private loan is in between you and friends, and the friend is helping you in a certain situation, and it is not good sport if you do not actually give something back to the person. So culturally speaking, here you should give 10%. If a friend helped you with a debt, you should give them 10% on whatever you loan them as a thank you. And you need to be polite. You need to keep your friends, and try as far as possible not to mix friends and money. And it's the same with family and money. Just try not to mix it. It's terrible. And interest rate, trying to make it more visible on the different loans, how much the interest rate alone is per month, and then administrative, how much per month. Here's 750 Swedish kronor in. That's 4,000 pesos. 4,000 pesos in administrative fees alone for these loans and debts. So then we get down to a number, and that some of you already noticed. This is a different number than on the first video, but because we changed a few numbers up here. But 173,000 pesos per month for 2 persons. Okay. This is if you're not paying attention. And in the next video we are going to look into what we can do. We're going to try to fiddle around with these numbers a little bit, make it a little bit more happy, and we're going to go into the next tab where we're going to look at incomes and goals and talk about the general game plan of a private economy here in Sweden. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your patience. I hope you learned something, and I hope you're coming back. Inget.